Should a church have a money-back guarantee? We will actually be talking about that. It's an odd story, but worth discussing. Before we get there, you got to text the word concert to 440-546-2255. Text concert to 440-546-2255 because Rebecca St. James is going to be here for a Christmas show December 5th at Grace Church in Middleburg Heights, sponsored by Compassion International and Christian Healthcare Ministries. A bunch of us are going to be there. Mm-hmm. We'd love to hang with you. Ladies, stop by. Tell Ron how much you love him.
Yes.
Watch my wife's face.
In horror, yeah.
Can't wait to talk to her about that at the Christmas party. It's going to be fun. So, money-back guarantees. Do any of you know where that comes from? Any idea?
No.
Maybe like old infomercials.
Oh, no, Daria. It's much older than that. In fact, I've brought in a string quartet for us to discuss
Where
this.
Oh,
Here
there
they are.
A little slow getting in the room.
One Josiah Wedgwood, one of the most remarkable and successful pioneers of the Industrial Revolution. He was born on July 12th, 1730. He was born into a family of nonconformist potters. Which is my favorite kind of potter.
Nonconformist potters?
Yeah. He showed early talent at 9 years old, got smallpox, couldn't work the pottery wheel, so he, again, instead did ideas. So he got really good at pottery, blah, 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 invented mass-produced pottery, blah, blah, blah. He's credited with inventing modern marketing.
Okay.
He was the first one to do mail order, money-back guarantees, traveling salesman, buy one, get one free, and free delivery. All his idea.
Wow.
Free delivery. Wow.
So
That's
Amazon
pretty
can credit him.
Yes. And he's the one who came up with the money-back guarantee, which I feel like is a major risk with pottery.
Yeah, especially if you're going to ship it.
Right.
Yeah. If you're using the postal service, you're going to lose out on that guarantee.
In the 40s.
Well, in
The horses.
2020s,
Cobblestone
I've had trouble.
roads.
You could have like horses.
The horses clopping on the cobblestones.
Did you hear
It's
my
broken.
horse?
Yes.
Impressive?
It was impressive. Yeah.
Okay, so that's where it comes from. There's a lot of famous retailers that have really big policies. Quartet, quiet. Sorry.
They're responsive now.
They are quite responsive, actually.
Well, that's what happens when you get yelled at.
So I found some famous money-back guarantees.
Okay.
You know Nordstrom has a wild policy? Lauren's like, absolutely. I go there all the
I
time.
don't remember what it is, but I do know it's wild.
They offer full refunds for any item, regardless of when it was purchased.
Wow.
That seems risky.
The only exception is special occasion dresses. Because then they would
that
just
would
be
Yeah.
a free rental agency for prom.
Mm-hmm.
No, like full refund anytime. Bath and Body Works. This one shocked me.
What? So the bottle of soap's like halfway?
Bath and Body Works guarantees customers they will accept returns on any product at any time, no matter the reason. Used lotion bottles, used candles, open fragrances, all fair game for a full refund as long as the original receipt is presented.
Wow.
It's like, I just finished this lotion. Not quite satisfied with the floral smell. I'd like my money back. Okay.
Wow.
How could you even do that in a clear conscience? This candle,
I don't know.
a little stinkier than I expected. Here's the wick. Another one, American Eagle. That was big when I was a kid. Is that still a thing?
It's still a thing. It's not as big as it used to be, but it was big when I was in high school.
Oh, you were all about it, I bet.
Oh, yeah.
Wearing like flannel plaid American Eagle
Yeah,
stuff.
flannel plaid, their jeans. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or the Sadie Hawkins dance when I was a kid.
All the flannel.
Matching flannels. You're nodding like that. Did you do that?
Not me personally. I went to a Christian school. We didn't do dances, but I had friends who did.
What did you do? Like a nothing?
Yes.
Banquet occasionally.
Yeah, we do. A girl would buy a matching flannel from American Eagle. But nonetheless, it's one of the few clothing stores to offer an unlimited return window. Customers can return an item at any time, even a year or more after purchase, without a receipt.
As long as it has like the American Eagle tag inside.
Yeah.
Wow.
I could get some money back from the 1990s,
Yeah, me
people.
too.
Can you imagine? They'd have to do it.
Wow.
And it doesn't matter like wear and tear. Like you could have a rip in it or something.
Any reason.
Wow.
I don't
And it
understand.
seems like the cost, the inflation, the shirt that you bought for $5 is probably a $45 shirt now
Absolutely.
Right.
from when you bought it in the 90s or whatever.
I don't know why they do this. Like, how can Nordstrom survive that? Are most people just not returning stuff? Is that how
I
that
think
works?
so.
They probably don't know that the return policy is that liberal.
Yeah, they probably think it's like 30 or 60 days or something.
Sorry, Nordstrom.
When
I
I
just
was-
changed their game.
When I was right out of the high school, I was working at a Walgreens, and this person left a container of gummy vitamins in their car. So obviously they melted. So this person comes up, says, "I'd like to return this." So I call my manager over because I'm like, there's no way he's going to approve this. And he did.
Yeah.
Melted gummy vitamins that were their fault. Yeah, we'll take that back.
There's a lot of places where that's the case. I mean, for no good reason at all. Totally used product. I know people who've done that. I tried to find the Costco details, but if you save the receipt and you're like, I've totally worn out this blender. Okay, here's a new one. What?
Keeps you a happy customer, maybe.
I guess. I don't know if it's good business, but nonetheless, to what extent should a church do this? That's where we're headed.
Oh,
So you're like, Matt? Well, there's a church called Gateway Church in Fort Worth, Texas. If you can even believe this, they had 100,000 active attendees on their main campus.
How many services do they have?
I mean,
a
like
bunch.
100? I can't even picture how you get 100,000 active attendees at a church, but that's just the main campus.
Because that's not Joel Osteen at the former Coliseum, the Rockets.
Yeah.
This is a church building that was built to be a church.
I mean, it's got to be multiple services at an enormous place. And it's Fort Worth, Texas. Sarah and I were in Fort Worth like maybe 2 years ago. And they're not kidding about Texas. Like, everything's big. Everything. It's outrageous. But I do believe it, having been to Fort Worth. Now, this happens to have been the church founded by recently disgraced pastor Robert Morris. We will not relive his horrific hidden crimes for many years, but nonetheless, he was forced out of the church for terrible sex crime that he, blah, 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 over, done, not even talking about it. Go look it up if you want to know more. So, enter his comments in 2022. He was speaking at Willow Creek Community Church in Chicago, and he spoke about a deal that he made with his Gateway Church members. He said, quote, "I've told our church on multiple occasions, I've said to them, if you'll try it for 1 year, if you're not fully satisfied, at the end of that year, I'll give you your money back."
Try what? Church or try giving?
I think it
Tithing,
doesn't say.
right?
I think it's giving. It doesn't say. I'm assuming it's giving. Yeah, it's tithing. So, and he said, with 22 years of church, no one has ever asked for their money back. Okay? Enter Catherine Leach, who's a disgruntled member, hasn't left. It's like, I can't believe what this church allowed to happen here. This is terrible. He said this. I want my money back. She submitted a letter on September 9th to the Gateway Church Elder Board, along with some other people, asking for her tithes back because she thought she's not satisfied after his crimes were revealed.
Yeah.
And the board has yet to respond.
I don't like it.
What?
Yeah. Because then you're acting as if giving to a church is so you receive some product back. And if you don't like that product, then you can just get a refund on church.
Now, that is the, I think, classical definition from a nonconformist potter of what money back guarantee would be, right? It's like, here's a product. If you don't like it, you can give it back.
But giving to a church is not so you get a product in return.
Right, but isn't there some sort of, like, if we're going to peel back some layers, there's an unwritten agreement that the church is saying, we're trustworthy with your dollars. We're not going to use it to cover up sex crimes. We're not going to use it to pay somebody who's a criminal and gross. And so, in a sense, maybe not to the letter of the law, couldn't she get her money back if he said that if you're dissatisfied?
I'm not saying she can't get her money back. I'm saying I don't like that.
The
option.
concept.
Yes.
So do you not like that he offered it?
Yes.
Okay. So
Right.
you're like, he should have never said that. It's
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, and I'm
We already know he wasn't the best pastor, though.
Right.
I mean, yeah.
yeah. And I'm just not certain we as Christians who are giving to a church, if we're members of a church, should be waiting around to get our money back.
But
Because
what
it's
about
obvious there's 100,000 people there. It is
Yeah.
obvious that God was working there, even while he was being a criminal. There are lives that were changed, and you're giving your money to God. You're not giving your money to a man.
Amen.
Yeah, this is the challenge, right? With the really famous podcast series, The Rise and Fall of Mars Hill, some critiques of it were that they didn't spend enough time highlighting that God still used Mars Hill.
Yes.
Mark Driscoll became a monster.
It was in spite of Mark Driscoll.
Yeah, but a lot of people got saved,
Yes.
grew in their faith in Jesus, and that's praiseworthy.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, I mean, she wants her money back. She's only been attending for like 3-4 years.
I don't know. There has to be a risk in going to church and being a part of a community. There has to be a risk.
What do you mean? Like a risk that it might not go well?
Yeah.
You're going to give money and you may not be happy with how they use
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. The church is made up of sinful people. We're not yet into our heavenly formed bodies. We are not yet fully redeemed. We are on our way. And there's risk involved. Church is made up of messy people. There's going to be problems.
And, you know, most laws are made up for the extreme. They're not, the average citizen is not going to go and murder somebody, but you have to have laws in place for people that make those terrible decisions. So in this case, isn't this an extenuating circumstance where this guy, total monster, used his crime as part of his testimony, lied to people for years. Anyway, it's so despicable. Go look it up. And give her money back, right? Look at all the money they got there, 100,000 attendees. I think Lauren says no. I'm curious what Ron and Daria say. What about you? Is this something where, in this extreme circumstance, this church where a pastor was absolutely horrific, woman wants her money back. He said you can have your money back if you're not satisfied. So she's just calling him on his word. Long story short, if you're just tuning in, we've been chatting about how Gateway Church in Fort Worth, Texas, was the church where Robert Morris, disgraced pastor, was a pastor for many, many years. He was quoted a number of years ago as saying, while speaking somewhere, he said, "I've told our church on a number of occasions, I've told them simply, if you'll try it for a year, tithing, if you're not fully satisfied, at the end of that year, I'll give you your money back." And so one woman who's upset about how the church has handled things in the aftermath, her name is Catherine Leach, and she says, okay, fine. Submits a letter to the elder board, I want my money back. And there's no reply yet on how they're going to handle this. Ron?
I don't like it on either end. I see it's a stunt, showy preachers tend to want to make a big splash and will say something like that. But if you took it to court, will the court say Robert Morris made the money back guarantee, so he owes her a year's worth of tithing? Is it just on the first year? Because it sounds like his conditions were you start tithing and go for a year. And if after that year you're dissatisfied, I'll give you your money back. So, if this member, if she's been tithing for more than a year, maybe she's outside the window of that guarantee. There's a lot of legal issues, I think, that would play out there. But it just, in my opinion, he should not have said it. It's just showmanship and not gospel. Stick to the gospel, Robert. That was part of his problem.
I've heard a lot of pastors, though, say similar things. They don't call it a money-back guarantee, but they're like, you try it.
Yeah,
and the Lord's going to bless you.
You won't be disappointed.
You hear it all the time.
Yeah.
Right?
And I don't have a problem with that. It's when you start, when you put that guarantee then you're putting it in some people's minds. Some are going to say, money for money. If I give $100 to God, I expect to get 1,000 back. And if it doesn't happen, then I'm going to be disappointed. Well, God doesn't work that way. You give your money and maybe the blessing will be seeing lives changed in Cuba, for example, or any, whatever your church might be doing, the homeless in your area are being helped. It's not just so you can get more money and, be a holy lottery. It's not like that.
And see, it seems to me for her, it's more of an accountability issue, not a financial. She's not trying to make a windfall here. She's trying to hold the church accountable for bad behavior and essentially saying to the elder board, you didn't supervise this guy well enough.
Right. And a lot of the elder board are out on the street now because of that. There's a lot of repercussions. She's right. They messed up. But does taking your money back make a difference? A church that size, unless she's a really big giver, it probably is a drop in the bucket.
Daria?
I have mixed feelings about it. On the part of former Pastor Morris, that should have been a huge red flag to any of their congregants that maybe something was up. The fact he was saying this. I do not think a pastor should be saying this.
Yeah.
But he did say it, and so now we have to deal with the aftermath. On the part of the lady that's asking for her money, I understand. On one hand, I'm with Lauren and Ron, because when you choose to give, you're giving to God. You're giving because you feel God, I hope, because you feel God called you to give. And so you are giving to his glory and his honor. And if something bad happens with that money because of something men do, that's not on God, that's not on you. But at the same time, I would personally not feel right knowing my money could have potentially been used to propagate this abuse, because we know he was using church funds to cover up the victim, to keep her quiet, to make her healing process take longer than it should have. So I understand. If not demanding the money back, I definitely think there needs to be an investigation to where this money went. And I think more people should be outraged, especially if they're longtime givers.
Yeah, and that's where a little twist comes in. About a month after she and some fellow members submitted a letter to church elder board asking for their tithes back, she and other congregants filed a lawsuit alleging that Gateway Church committed financial fraud with congregational tithes. The suit alleges Morris and other Gateway leaders told their congregation that 15% of all tithes would go towards foreign missionary work. Leach and the suing congregants allege the promise wasn't upheld, and they don't know where the tithes, which could amount to more than $15 million annually, went.
That's disturbing, and I'm glad they did that. If I assume they first went to the church leaders and said, look, this is what you've said, and the documents you're giving out, with the church annual meeting or whatever they do, don't show you living up to your promise here. What's going on? And the church said, I don't know, whatever. And so then they take them to court to force them. If they can't be ethical on their own, the court will force them to have some kind of ethics.
Yeah, and it forces me to kind of to go around the edges of this and say, why are they even still open? Part of me says, was something this egregious, even though the church is enormous, right? Mm-hmm. Why wouldn't the elder board say, here's what we're going to do. We're going to dissolve this church. It'll close in a month. We're going to sell off all the assets and donate 100% of the proceeds to a Christian ministry that helps people that are victims of sexual abuse.
Yeah, that was one of my first thoughts. I'm concerned there are even still people attending this church.
Yeah, they've only lost about a third of members. There's still a significant number of people going.
That's shocking and disturbing. I don't know why you would want anything to do with this. You have to assume the corruption goes deeper than they've uncovered, because this was a 20-year cover-up of the sexual abuse of a minor.
Yes.
That the church helped cover up.
Yeah. And you're nodding. You don't think I'm too crazy about the why are they still open question?
No, yeah. I think, yeah.
But this happens on a regular basis where churches like somehow stay open. I don't.
Yeah, because if there is a leader that is corrupt, they're not the only one.
Yeah, shut it down.
They're not the only one that has been corrupt, has been doing evil things, because the people around him allowed it. The people around him, I'm sure, had, whether or not they knew the full story, they knew some part of the story. They knew about the money, where the money was or wasn't going. So it's all about power. They just want to be in power, and they want to wield the power over 100,000 people. And so just because you got rid of one doesn't mean they're all gone, and they still want to hold that over people, I think.
And so I could see a world in which her efforts for asking for her tithe back and filing a lawsuit are not necessarily that she wants that to happen, but she's working to try to dissolve the church, shut it down.
Yeah,
If that's the
with all the
purpose.
legal fees, they're not going to be able to. Legal fees, and then also trying to pay people back for if they, win or whatever. There's no way they're going to be able to stay open.
So would you support that strategy if that's her goal? We don't know if that's her goal.
Yeah, my problem here is that I don't think what you're talking about are the same thing.
No, they're not. They're related, but they're
I'm
not the
fine
same
with
thing.
them. I'm fine with them doing a lawsuit and taking them to court about where's our $15 million annually.
Sure.
You were doing unlawful things. You were hiding money, whatever. I'm fine with that. That's different than saying, can I please get my tithes back? One person asking for their tithes back. To me, those are different. And so I have different feelings about both.
Okay, but what if she wants the tithes back because she wants to take the lump sum and give it to an institution she can trust and knows is going to do good things with it?
Yeah, I don't think we should be asking for our tithes back.
Right.
Out of a spiritual principle.
Yes.
Because it's not to the church, it's to God.
Yeah, and were you entrusting your money because you liked this pastor? Were you entrusting your money because you trust God and because he asked you to give?
Yeah, and I'm with you on that spiritual point. That's the purpose of tithing, which is why I think Ron's right. We got to stop this garbage of pastors getting all showmanship and being like, hey, satisfaction, money back, or
Yeah.
implying that there's some guarantee of blessing in some way.
Yeah, and what are you guaranteeing, I guess, is what can you guarantee? It's not you, it's God.
Because people shouldn't be giving to receive something anyway.
Exactly.
You should be giving because it's what the Lord expects of you.
Yes.
Period.
Yes.
And so there's something dysfunctional about that little schmaltzy thing that a lot of pastors have done.
Yeah, and also, did you talk to your elder board about this? Are you just, saying to your entire church, so hundreds of thousands of people could get their money back, but you haven't talked to your elder board about this?
Yeah.
Then you're putting people's jobs on the lines, because what if everyone really did take you up on that?
Right.
And everyone really did ask for their money back. And now you have a full staff that rely on that. And now you're putting their jobs at risk.
Not to mention, this clearly shows the dramatic problem of church governance in evangelical churches. People may not like the hierarchy of some mainline Protestant churches or
Right.
Roman Catholic churches, but when you get an enormous church, cult of personality, guy can pick a bunch of yes men who do whatever he want, that's not leadership.
Yep.
Yeah,
You got to have people that love Jesus more than their church and are willing to shut it all down if it goes bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we don't have that.
No, it's hard to find leaders like that, elders who will stand up to a alpha type preacher, because he has the charisma. He has people who love him just because he's a good show,
Yep.
and they'll go to the mat for him, not realizing he may be wrong about something.
Yeah, and don't think that this is only happening in mega churches with 100,000 plus congregants.
Oh, no.
I have personally seen it happen in much, much smaller churches. It is a rampant problem.
But there are healthy churches out there. I want to be clear on that. I've been a part of a couple of churches where I remember I grew up in a mega church that had this kind of yes man, puppet board. And then I joined a church. I'm talking to one of the guys on the elder board about a big decision for the church. And I go, boy, I wonder what pastor thinks of that. He looked at me and kind of squinted and goes, what difference does that make? I was like, what? That's a little extreme.
Yeah.
But the elder board clearly was in charge, which is how it's supposed to be run.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll bring this back up on Friday, but fascinating situation. And hopefully, with all these scandals, many churches in our area will really take a serious look at how they run themselves to ensure that more of this ridiculousness doesn't happen. Hey there, thanks for joining us. Like you, we're looking for a different kind of conversation. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you never miss a video.